Are you serious? Things are starting to get out of control in Egypt. What? Mohammed Mercy. He thought he was going to be... No, he's doing exactly what he was going to do. He lied to these people. But here's the thing. The Arab Spring started when President Barack Obama went to Cairo, Egypt, and fired up a Muslim Brotherhood revival. Then it started in, of course, Tunisia. They overthrew Ben Ali. Then Egypt, Jose Mubarak resigned. And then in Libya, it got ugly. 35,000 were killed before Muammar Gaddafi was pulled out of a drainage ditch and murdered in the street in cold blood. Then 7 assassination attempts finally convinced Ali Saleh to go away to a hospital in the US of A from Yemen. And every one of those nations were overtaken or eventually the governments controlled by the Muslim Brotherhood. Well, and Syria's next. As Assad, where is Assad? We still nobody's seen him. Maybe he's alive. Maybe he is actually dead. We don't know. Anyway, let me tell you what's going on in prophecy headlines right now. Prophecy Watch has got a great article here. Egypt on the brink of a civil war. For the Muslim Brotherhood, the long-awaited dream comes true. It's turning into a nightmare instead of a dream. Having survived 80 years of persecution to achieve power democratically, they suddenly find themselves the focus of a widespread popular hatred. Never have the Egyptians been in such dire economic straits as they are now, folks. Seriously, Egyptian President Mohammed Morsi, however, is not about to give up and make way for another new presidential election. The Brotherhood have spared no effort to stay in power. Such is the depth and the economic and social and political crisis that the threat of civil war appears all too real. Most commentators believe the army won't let recovery and a civilian regime accepted by all will be long and arduous. Civil disobedience is rampant. It's getting completely out of control. It's called the burden of Egypt from the Bible. And we've been sharing this with you for a little over 2 years. That in Isaiah 19, the Bible said, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And that verse is fulfilled when it looked like and there's videotape of what looked like a pale horse rider galloping through the rioting going on in the streets of Cairo. There's no question that very night they broke into King Tut's museum and stole 8 of his idol gods, his ancient idol gods from Egypt. Now 5 of those are recovered 3 days later, but 3 of them are still not been recovered in over 2 years. Also, the heart of Egypt did melt. People lost confidence in Jose Mubarak. Now, in verse 2 it says, I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. We've seen all of that happen in this uprising. Christians, Muslims, secular groups have all been in clashes. Kingdoms, spiritual kingdoms, peoples, brothers, neighbors, everybody fighting. And verse 3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. Now, after Mubarak resigned, and then they put him on trial, then there was a 16 months that a general governing council of 5 generals ruled Egypt. But they were destroyed after an election took place and Mohammed Morsi was elected. Now, at the time, I was writing my book, Mark of the Beast, RFID. And in my book, of course, the burden of Egypt becomes a major part. And there was 13 candidates for president. So I was writing like, okay, what do I write down here? Who's going to lead this revolution? And after praying, the Lord revealed to me that this man right here would, Mohammed Mursi. And the Lord said to me, go ahead and put him in the book and put him on the cover of your book. Put him on the back. There he is. Because he's going to win. And I thought, yeah, but what if I do and he don't win? Well, I finally, don't argue with God, all right? So I did what the Lord said, and he did win. And he's been a very fierce and cruel Lord. The Bible says he'd be a fierce king and a cruel Lord, and that's what I'm reading to you right now that's taking place. The Bible says the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the council, and he did, on his 6th day as president. He just made a decree that the governing council is done. They shall seek the idols, the Egyptians will, the charmers, the familiar spirits, and the wizards. And they did. Matter of fact, I've even got a video of one of the 5 governing generals before Mursi was elected, who said he was asked who he thought was going to win. And he said, Hamid Shaid. He said, why? Because I looked in my crystal ball and I see that Haid Mashid will win. Well, he was wrong. Mohammed Mursi won. They seek to their idols, to their charmers, to their familiar spirits, and to their wizardry or sorcery, but they never got the answer. The Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, a fierce king. A cruel Lord and a fierce king. That's Mohammed Mursi. He shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. He's in charge, he's ruling, and it's a burden of Egypt. It's not a blessing to Egypt. It's become the burden of Egypt. They've never seen a time like they're having now. Blood in the streets, crucifixion of Christians, beheadings, honor killings, horrible economic development, and a drought in the land. And their wheat production down 50%. They've never, are you serious? What? Something biblical is going on with the signs of the second coming of Christ. Their wheat production's down 50%. Get this. Look at the next verse. And the waters, they're in a serious drought, and the waters shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up, and they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up, and the reeds and the flags shall wither their crops. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks, all their farmland, shall wither and be driven away and be no more. It's happening. And the fishermen are going to start mourning because they can't catch anything in the Mediterranean, and they will lament. And their nets, they'll spread their nets upon the waters, and they shall languish. Moreover, they that work in fine flax, their industry will fail. And they that weave the networks will be confounded. Nobody will buy it. Here's why nobody's buying their baskets and stuff. There's no tourists going to Egypt. Who's going to go to Egypt right now? Well, Mohammed Mursi in charge. Are you serious? What? They're trying to implement Sharia law. And even if you read down in verse 14, same chapter, I'm in Isaiah 19:14. The Lord has mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his own vomit. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or the tail, branch or rush may do. There's nothing, they're broke. They're broke, busted, and disgusted, and all they want to do is implement Sharia law. That nation is going to absolutely self-implode with anger. And it's because, and you'll see, Mursi will use his iron fist, if he has to maintain power. Because he's got the backing of President Barack Obama, who would give him 20 new fighter jets, 20 new F-16 fighters, and 200 new tanks.